Hi friends, welcome. Today I want to share with you another bit from my conversation with my friend John Wylie, where we spoke about how the church should have people in place to help people who are wrestling with questions of faith. And then we moved into talking about how society, Western society, has a lot of spirituality in it right now, and that opens up the door for very interesting conversations. So enjoy. So we were talking about the people who are deconstructing their faith. We need more people who are in the right place at the right time to speak to these people and explain to them why their thinking is sideways.
Right.
Help them think critically about the thing, help them deal with it. I had a really amazing interaction with a pastor when I was growing up, really helpful. And I think it helped me in my journey later on as I hit adulthood, where I was like, okay, how do we know Jesus? How do we know he was who he says he was? Like, how do we know he exists? How do we know he resurrected? How do we know that we can trust the Bible? All of these things. And he just gave me at that time, it was just like a little taste, but it was like, okay, we got this guy named Josephus, who was a rabbi, and he wrote about Jesus. He was not a Christian. He was not friendly to Christians. He wrote about Jesus, and he wrote about his brother James being martyred for believing in Jesus. Do you have a brother, John?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I mean, it's kind of difficult to convince you that your brother is the Messiah, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So same here. I don't think my brother or my sister are the Messiah. Well, James believed that his brother was the Messiah and
Right.
died for that truth. And then you have all the other disciples
Right.
who, I think all but one died for that because they were going out and spreading the gospel after Jesus died.
Mm-hmm.
So that's profound. That's powerful to me. And, that's just a little bit of it. But anyway, I got a taste of that when I was speaking to him. And that was some right answers,
Mm-hmm.
right? That was good. I think people need to be in place, and pastors, and maybe this is somebody who this is their job to kind of be theologically in an apologetics mindset and an apologetics what's the word? They're skilled at that.
Yeah.
They've spent time working on that, so that when people come with these questions, they can give them real solid answers early on, and they can go with that, and people can move through that process with better information.
I love apologetics. Don't get me wrong. It's great. I geek out about it. I don't like the form of apologetics that kind of took root maybe in the 90s and early 2000s, where it was like this militant apologetics of like, you just walk up to random strangers and start having conversations about like, all right, so you, by your own admission, you're this, like that kind of,
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, it can work for people. What, like the thing that I've been loving, there's a course called the Alpha course that was developed in Europe. And it's about asking questions.
Sounds like a CrossFit course.
Right. Life's hardest questions, like about faith, the Bible, Jesus, all this stuff. And it's constructed in a way that the leaders of the conversation don't actually answer the question straight up, but they walk through with people with their question and just explore what their question means, where they're coming from with the question, all this stuff. So rather, like if someone came to the group and said like, I don't believe that Jesus is God, you wouldn't just give them answers of like, well, here's why he is, boom, 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 boom. But you like enter in this journey of like 12 to 16 week journey of like unpacking faith and Jesus and the Bible and the authority of all these things. And by the end of it, like you can either decide that it makes sense or you can do it again. And there's no pressure, right?
Yeah,
There's no like, you must pray this prayer right now. But you just honestly sit there with your questions. And you have people that have been Christians their whole life asking questions. And you have people that like never trusted Jesus or never even heard of Jesus come into the group. And it's this beautiful mix of like, oh my goodness, like here we are, we're all at the table and we all have questions about something, even those who have been following Jesus for their whole life.
Yeah.
And we're here to explore this weird in-between middle ground of like faith and Christ and how we respond to that in the world. And I think that, like you're saying, I think more churches need that kind of pastoral oversight, because that's kind of where we're at as a society, as a spiritualized society. Very few people in the world today, from even my interactions, would say that there is no God. More and more people are getting comfortable in saying universe, spirit, manifesting,
Mm.
spiritual words like
God is
that.
me, God is
God is
everybody,
me, God is
yeah,
universe, God is in you, God is in,
right.
like, we're vibing together. I'm cool. I'm cool with that
Yeah.
kind of language. Like, some people get offended by it, but I'm like, that's a starting place. Like, we're no longer at a place where people are like, there definitely is no God. Now
Yeah.
people are in this place
You
where
can
they're like,
certainly have different types of conversations with those people. It
right,
opens up different doors
right,
that, because with obviously, with the atheist, you're the first battle you're fighting is like, okay, or you can choose to approach it how you want, but a reasonable way to go about it is go, okay, well, first off, let's talk about if there is a God at all, right?
right,
But with somebody who is embracing some level of spirituality, if you will, you can they're very open to
right.
having that and a good example of this, I have quite a few friends in the LDS church, and I've spoken with
Nice.
them quite a bit. I lived in Salt Lake City for a while, and so that was actually a spark in my journey, because I would have people come into my door. I had my friends, and I was like, okay, where do they fall on this? Because they sound a lot like me, but I'm not sure where they're at. And so it's actually really easy to talk to them about the faith, because a lot of the words are the same. Like, and now what you have to do is you have to go, okay, you mean this
Right,
by this word, I mean this by this word,
right.
right? So you have to,
Yep.
you have to play with that. But
Define the terms and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
but I find it actually incredibly easy to have that conversation with them if they're willing to engage. Yeah, there's a blessing to that. I think it's obviously problematic to believe that the universe is, the rocks are God and all of this stuff.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
and that and that we're all like an interconnected God
Right.
thing. Where were you going with that? Did I cut something off?
No, I just think, we're like, societally, I think things are
That's right.
shifting in a way that, like, we no longer, as Christians, we no longer have to be that like that offensive defense, right? Like, where we're like, God, go get him, like, stand in the, what? Like, I think we're finally in a place where people are open to spiritual things and spiritual conversations in a way that maybe we haven't seen in a long time in American society, at least. They say that, like, Europe is ahead of us by like so many years, and like right now they're in a post-Christian society, is what people say. So like, whereas it used to be like a center Mecca thing of Christianity, but like now they're post-Christian. And I think what preceded that was a lot of what we're seeing right now in America of spiritualization and like all that kind of stuff of like, we're all like universe and like universalism and all this kind of stuff, which I'm like, this is our opportunity. Like, we no longer have to be those jerks that are like coming up to people and like, you're an idiot if you don't believe. Like, we can actually like approach these weird and awkward conversations and be honest, because like, I've lived Jesus for a whole lot of time in my life, and I still got questions that I wrestle with, and that I'm reading Genesis, and I'm like, where are these people coming from? Like, there are only 35 people in the world, and you saying there were other tribes. Where did they come from? I'm like, who are these guys? And then like, I've all this stuff, right? So like, I'm still in this boat of like I trust Jesus and I love Jesus and I'm going to live the rest of my life for him. But like, I'm still honestly approaching God, like saying, I don't know what you mean by this. And I don't know if I fully like trust everything every day, but like, I'm doing my best. And I think that's the honest conversations we need to start having as Christians with the spiritual people. I think we're finally at a place where we as Christians can enter in those awkward and weird conversation spaces with people and just say like, here it is. Like the thing you're searching for and the thing you're really open to, like, it's Jesus. Like, Jesus made all this by his word and by his power. He's sustaining everything. So when you're saying universe is doing this, like, it's Jesus, it's really Jesus speaking it. And I can show you where it says that in the Bible. And like, I can show you like all these things, and more people are open to those conversations. It's not as threatening anymore.
And they'll come to you very boldly and be like, oh my gosh, I had this, I was on LSD the other week and I had this crazy experience.
Right.
Where, I spoke to Mary, and I have a friend that, if by chance he's watching this, I love you, Connor. But like, they'll have these crazy, amazing experiences, and they'll come to you and go, I mean, this is like, I am going after this. This is doing some great things for me. And so when they do that, that's a really nice open door for you to come in and go, okay, great. Well, listen, I got this thing too. We got Jesus, we got the Trinity, we got, there's prophecy in the
Yeah.
Old Testament. That's a fun
Yeah.
thing to talk about.
Mhm.
Like, I mean,
Mhm.
you can go into all sorts of realms, whereas with, in the past, it could have been, had a lot of atheistic people. They would look at you like, oh my gosh,
Oh goodness.
who is this guy?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's a really interesting point.
You can really get into like the Ezekiel's where he's talking about wheels within wheels and wheels that are spinning and like orbiting, and the angels with their wings and how they're moving around without flapping their wings, praising God. And like we can talk trippy. Like the Bible has some trippy stuff that even to this day confounds even the smartest theologians of Christianity.
I love that part, because whenever I'm talking to people of various faiths, I always say, I'm like, listen, the things I believe are just as strange as the things you believe.
Right.
We have some common ground there.
Yeah.
The question is, who's right? All right, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any thoughts about everything we spoke about here today, please feel free to share them below. I would be happy to engage with you guys. And if you want to hit the like or subscribe, I would really appreciate that. But I hope you guys have a lovely day. Goodbye.